Hi everyone, I'm Sarah from cats.com, where we're all about cats, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Petlibro 1 RFID feeder. This is a new feeder from Petlibro that is supposed to have a lot of additional bells and whistles and a lot of personalization features that are supposed to be really well suited for multi-cat households. Petlibro sent me 2 of these feeders to try out, and I've been trying them out for the past few weeks with my cat Gordon and trying some different experiments to see how well they work. So let's talk about it. For this video, I consulted with Dr. Chris Vanderhoof, who's a cats.com veterinarian, and he shared a lot of helpful advice when it comes to this particular feeder and just automatic cat feeders in general. So I'll share his thoughts as we go along. Before we get into the specifics of the Petlibro 1, let's talk about automatic feeders in general and some of the pros and cons of what you can expect with an automatic feeder. So there are a lot of distinct benefits. So you have better portion control, you have more consistent meals for your cat. So even if you're sleeping in or traveling or working long hours, your cat will still get consistent meals at consistent times. They also allow for smaller portions of meals that may not be possible if you need to hand feed your cat every single meal. So small meals can be really good for your cat's metabolism and weight loss. So there's a lot of benefits. That being said, there are some distinct negatives of automatic feeders as well. Most of them only allow dry food. Also, if you have 2 cats or multiple cats, it can be difficult to know exactly which cat is actually eating the meal. So if one of your cat is stealing the other cat's food, it can be hard to really know that unless you are supervising every single meal time. And then finally, depending on the sophistication of the automatic feeder, it is possible for some cats to kind of outsmart the feeder and figure out just how to tap it the right way or dump it over and release the food. So that's another thing I'm going to be looking for in this review today, to see what kind of security features exist with the Petlibro 1. The price of the Petlibro 1 is $150, which is definitely on the more expensive side of available feeders you'll see on the market. And then another thing to consider is that this feeder can only be synced with 1 cat or 1 collar with the RFID tag. So if you have multiple cats, you will need to purchase multiple of these feeders. That being said, Petlibro does offer a bit of a discount if you do purchase multiple of them at a time, but definitely something to consider. I do wish they had an option to have multiple cats synced to the same feeder and maybe have like different meal times or something, but they don't allow for that, so just account for that in your budget. That being said, even though this feeder is quite a bit more expensive than average, it does have a lot of special features that I've never seen before in an automatic feeder. So the Petlibro 1 is a upright feeder designed for multi-cat households, and really the biggest differentiating factor and the biggest selling point, I would say, of this feeder is the RFID technology. So basically how it works is every feeder comes with a collar, and you sync the collar with the feeder, and then whichever cats you put the collar on, that cat is supposed to be the only one that is actually able to open the feeder. So really this technology is designed to prevent other cats or other pets from being able to steal the food, because only the cat that is wearing the collar is going to be able to open their own personalized feeder, and that's really how it's supposed to work. This feeder also has a lot of freshness features. So they have a locking lid, which keeps a pretty tight seal on the food. I'm gonna be honest, it was hard for me to even open the lid some of the time because it is really like suctioned on there, which I think is good, definitely for freshness. They also have a desiccant bag in the lid, which also adds additional freshness. One thing to note though is they only include 1 of these bags with your initial purchase, so you will have to buy replacements yourself. Petlibro does sell replacement packs. They have a 6-pack for about $15 or $16, so it's not terribly expensive to buy the replacements, but you will need to buy them relatively often. My first feeder that I set up for Gordon, it's only been a few weeks and I'm already getting notifications to replace that desiccant bag. So just be aware of that. This feeder also has a stainless steel bowl that is removable, which I think is really nice because it makes it really easy for cleanup. You can completely take it out and scrub it out at the sink. And so I really like that that will help keep everything really nice and clean. Now, as I mentioned, this feeder only does allow dry food, but in terms of the capacity, it can fit 13 cups or 3 liters. That being said, because as I mentioned, this feeder can only be synced with 1 cat, you don't need to worry about bulking up enough food for like 3 cats in 1 feeder. So because of that, you may not actually need a huge capacity. So just something to think about. How the Petlibro one works is through RFID technology. So each of the feeders comes with a RFID reader built into the base, and then each feeder also comes included with a collar as well as a little RFID chip. So basically you can set up each individual feeder to be synced with an individual cat. So the feeder will only open for the cat that is synced with the correct collar at the time. Now, there's a few benefits of a collar-based RFID system like this. One, it's super easy to set up, and it's also easy to just confirm that everything is working. Also, I found that the system was really effective. It did work as advertised to open up the feeder for the correct cat, which I thought was really nice and just gave me a lot of reassurance that it would work even if I wasn't home for every single meal. That being said, there are some negatives to think about as well. So when I talked to Dr. Chris Vanderhoof, he mentioned that he actually recommends that cats not wear collars in general because he said that there is a strangulation risk, especially if your cat is particularly adventurous and they're likely to jump off on high things, and there's always a risk that their collar could get caught on something. That being said, I think you'll have to assess your level of risk on this. Some people are just more comfortable with their cats wearing collars. If your cat is already wearing a collar, then this will not be any increased risk over that. Petlibro has also set up a few safety mechanisms to reduce the chances that there'll be any major risks from this collar. So they do have an easy release collar. And so what that means is that if there is pressure put on the collar, it will automatically release, even if you're not there to unbuckle it. So essentially how this works is if your cat were to get caught on something and there's enough pressure on it, it will just release just like that. So that's how it works. Setting up the Petlibro one is really pretty easy. Everything snaps into place. You won't need any tools or anything like that. So the first thing is you'll have this cream colored base. This is actually what has the RFID reader in it. Then you'll snap in the white food bowl container as well as the stainless steel interior bowl. This is a bowl that you can actually take out to clean, so that is really convenient. Then the next thing you'll do is put on this accordion lid. This is what locks the food when your cat is not around, so no other cats can steal it if they haven't eaten their full meal, although I've never run into that problem with Gordon. So you're pouring the food to the top and then snap on the lid. The lid does lock into place, so that prevents cats from stealing the food that's inside, and it also keeps everything locked in place and nice and fresh. Then you can put on these final pieces, which are the walls. This is what will also prevent other cats from stealing your cat's food when they are enjoying their meal. Once everything is assembled, you just plug in the cord and plug it into the wall. And then at that point, it's ready to be synced with your Wi-Fi and synced with the app. I also really like that there is an option to put batteries in the feeder. Personally, I haven't tried this yet, but basically you can install batteries, so if there is a power outage, the feeder will still work, which I think is a really great safety mechanism. But now let's talk about the app, which is what enables a lot of the personalization features of the Petlibro one. The first thing you do in the app is set a profile for each cat. It's pretty simple. You upload a picture, you can say their breed, their age, their sex, things like that. And then after you have that set up is when you will customize the meals. One thing I do wish as a bit of a wish list item is I do think it would be cool if, based on the information you uploaded of like the age and the weight of your cat, they could actually recommend meals for your cat or maybe have some default suggestions. They may be doing that behind the scenes and maybe they just don't tell you about it, but I do think that would be a nice feature. But regardless, after you have that set up is when you can customize the meals. So you can customize everything from the size of the meals, everything from 1/4 of a cup to 4 cups. You can also customize all of the times that you want the meals to go off, as well as the frequency or the repetition of the meals. There's also an option to just manually release the meals. And then one of the most fun features, I think, is the customization of the feeder appearance itself. So as I said, each feeder can only be associated with one cat, but it kind of opens up some possibilities to have some cute things, like you can put their name on it, and there's a screen on the front that you can customize through the app. So you can put their name, you can put a heart, you can put a little cat emoji, and I think it's just super cute. I feel like this is definitely my favorite feature of the app and of this feeder in general. And then finally, they do give you alerts through the app. So if your food is running low, if the food is clogged or jammed, or you need to replace the desiccant bag, all of that they will also alert you of. So I think that is a really nice feature and just kind of gives me more peace of mind that even if I'm not like looking inside the feeder every day to make sure the food is still there, it's kind of monitoring it itself to tell me when I need to look at some of these things.
So I'm on vacation this week, and one thing that I've really appreciated about the Petlibro that I've not had with any of my previous feeders is just being able to automatically see what Gordon is doing and also change his feeding schedule. So on the day we left for the vacation, I actually realized that I had forgotten to set up dinner for Gordon, and I forgot the cat sitter was not coming until the next day. And I started really worrying. I was like, Gordon is going to be starving at home without dinner. But on the app, I was able to remotely set up Gordon's dinner, and I was also able to see that he had eaten it, which also gives me just peace of mind that he's still alive and doing okay. So that's probably been my favorite feature about the Petlibro so far.
Gordon, time to eat. Gordon's reaction to this feeder was super cute. He was mesmerized by it. I feel like for the first day or two, he would just stand by the feeder and like watch it open and close. He loved to look at the door opening. I think he thought the whole thing was just really cool. And he had absolutely no problems like eating food from the feeder. I think he doesn't really care where his food is coming from as long as he's getting fed. So he took to it right away, no problems there. The only problem that personally was more of a problem for me than it probably was for Gordon, but when Gordon was eating, this feeder made a very annoying squeaking sound. And when I looked more closely, basically the sound is coming from the accordion door. So as Gordon was eating, his head was pressing up against his accordion door, kind of moving it a little bit along the sort of like rails. And it made a annoying sound that I can hear from like across my apartment. So just a small critique of the actual feeder itself when Gordon was using it. This feeder has been working really well with my cat Gordon for the past few weeks, but it is time to test the Multicat functionality of the Petlibro 1 because this is probably the biggest selling point of this particular feeder. So unfortunately, I only have one cat. I would love to have multiples in the future, but for now I have recruited my little friend here. We'll call him Larry, and Larry will help us test out the Multicat functionality. So the first thing I'm going to try is see if Larry can open up Gordon's feeder, and I'll also just confirm that he can open up his own feeder. As you can see, he's wearing his little RFID chip here. So let's give it a try. So far, so good. Larry was not able to open Gordon's feeder, but he was able to successfully open his own feeder. So that's going really well. Now let's just double check and make sure that Gordon is not able to open Larry's feeder. So the Multicat functionality test worked really well. So Gordon did try to get into Larry's feeder, but he was not successful. So I found that it was really secure. Gordon was trying to like open a lid. He was trying to like bat away this side piece, and he was not able to get in the feeder. That being said, the one thing that I would say could be a little bit of an issue for Multicat functionality is it doesn't 100% stop your cat from stealing each other's food. So as I've tried with Larry a few times, if Larry is sitting here eating, Gordon is still able to kind of overtake him and steal the food. That being said, Larry is a bit defenseless, and I think in a real life situation, you'd probably have a little bit better luck. But I think if your cat is really adamant on stealing food, this is not going to 100% prevent it, but it should prevent quite a bit of it. I think the core functionality of the RFID collar and the opening based on the collar worked perfectly. So I think this would be a great option for multi-cat households if you have the budget for it, and especially if your cats already wear collars and you don't want to go to like a microchip system. I think this feeder is a really good option for that scenario, especially if you have the budget to splurge on this. So I liked it for all of those reasons. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, let me know down below. We'll put links to everything I talked about today down in the comments or down in the description box. So until next time, bye.